right, hello everybody. Welcome to the last Linux user group of 2025. It is insane that we're here, but we are in fact here. When we come back next time, it'll be 2026, so it'll be a brand new year. So today we're going to be talking about self-hosted software and things that we self-host. So I have a few questions for the panel that we'll start off. Well, actually, I think we'll end with those because they're more related to what would you like to self-host instead of what you do self-host. So what we're going to try to do is we'll limit it to just, instead of just one person getting up and saying, hey, here's the 12 things I self-host, we'll do one at a time. So who wants to tell us the first thing that maybe the most important thing that you self-host? Steve, go ahead.
The most important thing that I self-host is Vault Warden. It's because the password managers are very important. They're an essential part of my life right now because of all the leaks and all the hijacks that have been going on recently on multiple sites like Google and other websites. I decided to regenerate all my passwords because I was one of the worst people on planet Earth using technology. I was using 3 passwords all over across my services. I decided to regenerate all of them using Vault Warden. And since Vault Warden, if you self-host, you get access to all the paid features for free. But I do also donate the $10 to the regular version because the regular version I use it as a backup. So I self-host Vault Warden, and it's been dear to use because 0 issues. Never ever had issues except minor quirks like the autofill has been acting up for the past few months, but that's a minor gripe. It's not a big major flaw. I just disable autofill and I'm okay. I just manually fill. I just ask it to show me the icon in the password fields. I click it, select what I want to fill it with, and I fill it. So other than that, it's the most important thing I self-host. It's on a VPS. It's not locally because locally I can't. I don't have electricity long enough to rely on that. But other than that, it's the first thing, most important thing I self-host.
War Thunder.
For me, of all things, it's Nextcloud. One of the biggest struggles that I always dealt with, and my wife too, is you carry like 9 of these flash drives around, or I have a binder down here full of all the flash drives around here, and then you can't find anything, or you use these passport drives, and these are fine for backups, but that time where you need files between one system to another. So I ended up self-hosting Nextcloud to have our own cloud at home. At the time, this was largely because I had very poor internet, but these days it's mostly because I can symlink certain config files in my .config directory directly into Nextcloud, and then when I make a change on this laptop, boom, it's everywhere. It syncs up to my server, it syncs to the other systems running Nextcloud, and I think it's pretty great in that regard. And we've just started to dip our toes into the online collaboration stuff, so we have shared documents between my wife and I. I think if you can get it up and running, it works pretty good.
So I've completely uninstalled Nextcloud. Like it just stopped. It just did not work well for me.
It was pretty bad for a while, I'll admit that, when I was first learning it. The last update they just did has been pretty solid. Especially one of the big things they did was you used to have to go into the web interface to go into your files, and it would take forever for it to like index and find everything. It's like instant now. I don't know what they changed, but it made a pretty big difference with that.
What I think if they basically forked SyncThing and put SyncThing in there and used that as the syncing service, Nextcloud would be way better. Because the site
Yeah.
has so many syncing problems, especially with large files.
So I still do with Windows because I still have to deal with Windows. For whatever reason, it's a file permissions problem on Windows where shortcuts put on your desktop, I like to sync those. So if I go to another system, I'll still have those shortcuts in a folder. Um, it just says no because you don't have permissions to edit the file. But I'm not editing the file. I'm just syncing the file. I don't. If you just go in and set everything to your user can read write, it fixes it. But I shouldn't have to do that. So I get it. I've had other issues. I think I use some of Drew's guides with too large a file downloads will sometimes just time out for no apparent reason. Or I've had some files occasionally like lock themselves out for no reason. Just weird stuff. I
Okay.
haven't since the last major update, but I get it.
So there's two things I've learned about you in the last week that mean we can't be friends. You put your panel on the bottom, and now I hear that you put icons on the desktop.
I put a folder on the desktop. Inside that is like shortcuts to things. I
Uh,
do it mostly for my game library.
I don't know if I can trust you. I'm just just saying there's got to be something there is.
Yeah, I'm using Vivaldi.
Yeah, but it's day one. String some days together, and maybe we can be friends. Drew, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. The tabs on the bottom thing, though. I mean, you know what's funny is there are quite a few. That's a very Windows paradigm, right? Having like kind of stuff going along on the bar on the bottom. So I have questions, but maybe not right this second. The the thing that's I know the answer is, you're looking for an application answer, like, fresh RSS or something like that. But the thing that I self-host more than anything else that works for me is I don't have like a cloud-based file. Um, I use TrueNAS Scale for my files and stuff like that. So sharing files, both with the people in the house and stuff like that. Having that TrueNAS Scale and hosting your own NAS to me is the most important thing of my setup. It's not an application. Well, it is. I mean, TrueNAS Scale is an application, but you get the idea. I'm like, I swear by the fact that I actually don't have like Matt, who has kind of like a dedicated home folder. I have like directories that are completely synchronized with my NAS. That's all I use. So whenever I'm like adding a file or retrieving a file, it's actually coming from the NAS. It's actually not local at all. So TrueNAS Scale is my jam.
Drew, I know you don't do the whole video editing thing, but do you when you're stitching things together with your
That's
stuff,
local.
that's local?
But then I just delete the entire contents of that directory. It's in the home videos directory, and then I run, the answer is like I have been doing the 60-day challenge, and a lot of the stuff that I've been doing is a lot like I'm using a lot more snippets than I ever have before. So I get up to like 35 like MKV files in that one directory. And then luckily I have a script that just says merge MKVs. That's all it does. And it just takes one to the end and then merges everything together, so I don't have to like do command line stringing or anything like that. It's really, I mean, if you're ever interested in doing something super, super simple without editing videos, that's a way to do it. It's maybe not the best way, but it is a way to do it.
The reason why I asked is because I can't imagine. I mean, I even just that little bit of whatever, I couldn't imagine doing that over the network.
The network though is incredibly fast, man. I don't understand. And I'm using SSDs in the NAS. I'm not using mechanical drives at all. So it's super, super fast.
Yeah, all my stuff is Rust, so I can just imagine my hard drive setting them on fire every time DaVinci Resolve launched. I mean,
yeah,
that'd be crazy. Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, let's start with I've been on Linux for about 9 months, and I am on my third distro. I am now at Fedora 43. Started my home lab life with Jellyfin, but I would say my most important has to be Pi-hole running through Unbound to make it so that I don't have to use any upstream DNS.
One thing I haven't ever touched is Pi-hole. I'm a little. I'm very worried that if I pipe my entire internet through something, that I'm gonna do something horribly wrong and never have internet again. Um, I I adore the idea of it, just never actually had the courage to do it. How hard was it to set up? No, we can't hear you. Did you press a mute button on your microphone or something?
I'm sorry. I have some issues with my Corsair mic occasionally. But yeah, it wasn't hard at all. It probably took me. I think the Unbound side was more difficult than the Fedora side because you had to change the port for Unbound because they were both trying to use port 53, and that don't work. But yeah, like I said, probably took me, including the Unbound stuff, probably maybe an hour, and that's only because I'm trying to read guides at the same time.
Yeah. Maybe.
Sorry, can I ask a question real quick? So are you with Pi-hole? You're running it on Fedora on your local machine, or
No,
are you?
I'm running it actually on a Ubuntu server,
Okay, okay,
the same server I'm running my Jellyfin on.
okay. Thanks.
Yep.
I have I think it's like I think it's called a Zima Blade or something. I'm not sure if that's the brand name. I think it starts with a Z, but it's this little single board computer that has dual NICs in it, and it has Pi-hole on a sticky note. Like that's what I'm gonna do with that thing. But it has remained on the top of my cabinet over there for 2 years. Haven't got there yet. Dennis, go ahead. You gotta unmute yourself, Des.
There we go. Sorry, I had to allow my microphone. My most important thing right now is my update server and my public update server, which the public one runs over GitHub and the normal one runs over a NAS. I forgot whether it's SMB or FTP or what. I forgot right now, but it runs over a file protocol, and I created the code for them.
Cool. Before I move on, someone in the chat asked if we're gonna see a snowflake sticker on my microphone soon. The answer is no. The OpenSUSE stays, but I do in fact have a NixOS sticker. So just point that out. War Thunder, you're next.
Yeah, I actually need to get myself some distro stickers. I have a bunch of other stickers, but that's something I'm missing. One of the things that it's a mostly self-host. I might look into fully self-hosting it eventually, but doing Tailscale around here has been very nice. It's not something my wife will probably ever use, but like I got to experience it the first time back in April, where I sat down, I set it up, and then in a cabin in the woods, which for some reason still had fiber internet in 2025, Tailscaled back to my NAS, and then proceeded to watch movies while I was there at night. Just airplayed it off my iPad to the TV, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Being able to get back to my server to be able to mostly just watch Jellyfin, but also be able to access documents and stuff. So like I recorded some footage and I needed to upload it off my phone just in case I were to lose my phone. Tailscale, pop right back to the server, re-upload it to my server. I didn't have any issues. So I've really appreciated having that.
I tried Tailscale for a little while. I had some issues with like third-party APIs that were expecting certain things from DNS that just didn't work very well. So I ended up going back to Cloudflare tunnels, which just are magic. I mean, but the little bit of time I spent with Tailscale was just like, man, that is really cool. I still have it installed. I just don't use it for anything quite eventually I'll find something a use for it. And then the fact that they seem to be very open source friendly, like they really try to support a lot of projects and stuff, was really nice.
And it's kind of cool. I won't go into huge depth of it, but they'll even give you the ability to set up tail lock, which is if you don't trust Tailscale themselves, but you still want to use their service, you can set up to where only your machines can authenticate somebody else joining your network. But that also means you can take the keys away from them. So even if you can take it away to the point where their support can't even unlock your account or unlock your tailnet to somebody else, which I think is pretty cool. I just experimented with that this weekend, and it does in fact do what it says on the tin.
Cool. Fraggle, go ahead.
I think for me, like the most important self-hosted things that I have are like my DNS and VPN stuff. And then through that, I can also route things through Tor as well. And that way it doesn't matter where I connect from, any public Wi-Fi or, work Wi-Fi or anything that's open, it all goes through my own services. So everything's like secure and encrypted. So I don't have to worry about anything being jeopardized when I'm out in the wild. So it's fun. Networking is fun. Once you learn about it and figure it out, it's a lot of fun.
It's not fun. It's terrifying. I'm certain I'm being hacked at the moment. I'm really bad at it. Someday I will. I have the tools. I have none of the knowledge that I feel like I need for networking and stuff. I'm always I'm just never confident enough to realize it's one of the reasons why we mentioned before we started recording. But War Thunder was talking about what self-hosting password managers, and like I don't trust myself with that either. Like I guarantee instantaneous. Like I know I'm not like a multinational corporation, which is like the biggest target in the world, but it just feels like there's obviously someone out to get me. So, go ahead.
I'd have to I'm not sure if anybody said this yet or not, so I just jumped in here, but a mail server and my own Git repository. Those are probably my two first.
What do you is your mail server custom, or did you use a tool to set it up?
There was a script or something in Proxmox. It installed Dovecot and Postfix. It did the whole 9 yards, certificates and everything. You just have to generate your DKIM and SPF records and then put those inside your registrar.
Yeah, mail is another thing that I wouldn't trust myself to self-host. I think I'd probably mess that up as well.
Well, the thing about mail is if you jack it up too bad, you just get blacklisted. Nobody will accept your emails. There is like an internet blacklist. And if you don't secure your email server, you're getting put on the blacklist.
Well, people don't answer my emails anyway, so I guess I wouldn't really I wouldn't notice the difference. Drew, go ahead.
No, I actually had a question for Gnome. It was, what is he using for Git service? Is he using Git? Is he using ForceGo? Okay.
Git, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Actually, speaking of Git, did you guys see that GitLab now has this that they're going full in on AI and scanning shit again, or like GitHub? It means I'm gonna have to end up switching because I hate that.
That's part of the reason why I chose those two services, email and Git, is because I can make sure there's no AI involved in either one.
Like I don't actually mind AI. Like I use AI quite a bit, but I want it to be a choice on my end, not someone else. Like, oh, here's my data, have it for fun. So I'll probably be moving after Drew and going to Codeberg very soon, at least for a lot of the stuff. DGR, go ahead.
Yeah, privately, I just use one always on node in my network for Git. I mean, it's distributed. If you can reach it via SSH, just use it. There does not need to be any web involved or anything. SSH and Git is plenty. professionally, I self-host GitLab. It's a bit overkill, but in an enterprise setting, it works perfectly.
Yeah. I tried self-hosting GitLab one time. Tyler and I did like a challenge for the podcast once before the Drew and Nate joined. Neither one of us succeeded in actually getting that working, but that was well before I started learning how to use Docker and all that kind of stuff. So I've been sitting here staring at the list of things that I self-host, trying to figure out what my most important one is, and I think I'm gonna have to go with Fresh RSS. It's the thing that I use the most for sure. I don't know if it's considered the most important, but it is astonishingly useful. I use the internet completely differently because of Fresh RSS. I mean, I spend there's no way I'd see as much content as I do without it. Like I probably follow probably 400 different blogs, just blogs, in the RSS. There's no I'd never managed to visit all of them ever. I mean, granted, I still don't read like 90% of the stuff that I have in my feeds, but still, the fact that it's there and I can at least browse through the titles is something that I use constantly, and it's just so very good. I know that there are other like RSS aggregators that you can self-host. I've never tried any of them, but Fresh RSS is fantastic. So I guess we can start going back around for people who have other services that they'd like to mention. So what else do you guys self-host? War Thunder, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief because I haven't dug too deep into it yet, but Image is one that I've started to mess with because one, Google decided to combine Drive, Gmail, and Photos all into the same storage bucket, which sucks because Photos take up a lot of space. And two, I found that there's a bug in the Play Store version of Nextcloud that it can't sync. It can't auto sync on Android anymore. It's some weird thing with Google. They're working on it, but it means I have months of photos that I need to back up somewhere, which is my biggest concern. Is I'll take a picture somewhere for like a vacation and I'll just end up losing it. So for now, I've got Image running. I don't have my wife on it yet because I was just making sure everything works. I don't lose everything. It did hit stable this year, which is great. But it looks a lot like Google Photos. If you've ever used Google Photos, the app seems to work pretty well. It seems pretty reliable. I appreciate being able just to auto back up my uh, photos and whatnot, and then I can go back in later and set up albums and such. I can go back in and manually download them out or export the whole thing. It'll even reorganize based upon year, month. There's a whole syntax you can mess with if you want to get really deep into it. So I like it. I think it works okay.
I haven't used Image in quite a while. I know they went stable not too long ago, but the last time I used it was probably, I don't know, 2 years ago when I first set up my home lab. It was fine, but the thing my thing with photos is it just all goes to Google. I mean, it sounds horrible, but because everyone in my family uses Google Photos, like every single person, going to something else, it's kind of like switching someone to Signal or Telegram or whatever to try to get them to do messaging there. It'd be the same thing with photos, just trying to get them to do something else.
It's hard, and then sharing photos becomes harder because I'm hosting it locally. So the only way I can share is to give people like either a tail scale or like recently I literally took a USB drive and handed it to my mother because she wanted some of my wedding photos and that for something she was doing. So like it's tough, but like I got to do something. I don't know what that's going to be, but my storage was filling up and I can't keep all that stuff on there. So I don't know what the solution is long term yet.
I've
Maybe
just
Proton.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I pay for Proton, but nobody else in my family uses it. Um, I'm just resigned to the fact that I'm going to be paying Google $100 a year forever until I die, and then probably after I die. I mean, they'll probably find some way to charge me from beyond. Steve, go ahead.
I was gonna say Image, but I remembered, like you, I was I had a URL for it, so it was exposed, so I could everyone can use it, but still that was not a solution, and nobody wanted to switch and everything. They all complained, should I use another application? So I switched to Google Drive, like you, exactly, because everybody has Google Photos, because everybody has Google Photos, iOS or Android. So I'm gonna say it's called Penguin Share is my second one. Because internally over at Zero Linux, we keep sharing files and having to keep looking for free file sharing networks that support files bigger than 5 GB. Yeah, they're free. They tell you up to 5 GB. Anything more, you have to pay. And my ISOs are, at least the NVIDIA ISO is 5.5 GB. So I'm like, I need to self-host something myself to share internally with the dev team, because now we have a dev team. Yes. So I use Penguin Share. It's been archived, but the last version they released still works. So I have control as to how big a file they can share, and I control who register. I create the accounts for people I want to have on the platform, and it's hosted on a VPS, so they're not limited to my local internet speed. So it's on the VPS. So yeah, I use Penguin Share. I know there's a million others out there that are actually being maintained, but this one just works, and that's what I use internally for Zero Linux. It's very important, and it's very simple to use.
Patrick, go ahead.
So my home lab, the two things that I haven't mentioned already are Fresh RSS, which is a very good aggregator, and of being a D&D nerd that I am, Foundry VTT is I self-host, running through PM2 and Node.js.
Okay, I understood the Node.js part, but I don't know what any of the other stuff is.
PM2 is basically a Node.js for system D type stuff, but without system D. Instead of running it through system D, you run it through through PM2. And I may be doing that wrong because, like I said, I'm fairly rookie. So,
well, you're obviously beyond me, because I understood the words, but didn't understand what any of it meant. What was the thing you said before the PM2 thing that you mentioned? I missed that part.
Node.js.
No. It was you said after
Foundry Virtual Tabletop. It's
yes. Okay.
I said I'm a D&D nerd, so of course that also made me look into port forwarding, because it doesn't do any good if my players can't get to the tabletop.
Yeah, cool.
But that's on one port, and I close that port immediately when I'm not using it.
Well, yeah, because you can't trust the rogue orc, you know. Des, go ahead.
I would really like to start self-hosting a ticket manager, the kind that typically keeps track of a bunch of knowledge about your network and that sort of thing, your troubleshooting stuff. But my best use for that at the moment, like the way I want to set it up to also do, or multiple instances or something, is that I want to be able to keep track of prayers that people want to pray for, and have a system where people can go to a website and submit prayer requests.
Cool. Drew, go ahead.
I know this is going to me being a FOSS advocate and saying Plex server is going to be a bad thing to say, but overall, I mean, again, I know Matt, you recently switched from Plex to Jellyfin. It's one of the things that just haven't had the need to, and not to mention, I've been sharing a lot of my stuff with friends and family outside of my network, which works really, really well. And also, I've been able to combine it with, and I know you could probably do the same thing with Jellyfin, but I've been able to combine it with my over-the-air antenna and be able to like watch like local television elsewhere. And my buddy is actually visiting with us this week, and he's from Atlanta and is able to like watch Buccaneer football via my Plex live. So yeah, it's one of the cool things that self-hosting affords you, not just controlling your own digital assets, but even watching live television.
So when I first switched to Jellyfin, I was pretty happy. Like my original complaints against the UI are pretty fixable because it's very themable. A lot of people put through CSS sheets that basically completely redo the UI. It's great. But as my music library has gotten bigger, Jellyfin has gotten progressively slower. Like it has gotten astonishingly slow. Now everything is slow when it's scanning, right? It's just because it's doing all this stuff, right? But even when it's not scanning, Jellyfin is slow. So I've moved all of my music off of Jellyfin and moved to Navidrome, which is a subsonic client. It's so much faster. So I just use Jellyfin now for music or for movies and TV shows. I wish Plex wasn't so corporate. Like, because Plex, I had so many good experiences with Plex, but every time I go into the UI, it's just like, oh, there's something else I can't remove from the UI, and it's just in my face. If there was like a scaled down version of Plex, I'd definitely use it instead of Jellyfin, because Jellyfin, it's just slow. It's very disappointing. Maybe it's just what I'm running it on. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I have actually a machine that just runs Plex. And I'm not using a container. It's actually running a Plex server on Debian 12. It's been that way for quite a while. I don't know if that makes any difference at all in terms of like, usefulness, but that's just the way I'm doing it. And like I said, I don't know that having a container is not having a container might just allow much more of the resources of the PC to just kind of like, go. But there's only two things that I there's two things that I self-host that are not part of my TrueNAS scale. One of them is Plex on its own dedicated machine, and the other is Home Assistant on its own Raspberry Pi, basically. So those two things.
Nice. War Thunder?
Now you make me feel bad because I was going to say Jellyfin, but I also understand why a lot of people still like Plex. When I got into self-hosting media, that was back when I had very poor internet, and Plex, when you don't have an internet connection, can be troublesome. I had issues signing in. I had issues with some media not wanting to play back. I ran into some issues that like Wendell from Level 1 Techs ran into, where he had a local copy of a particular movie and it chose to stream the online version because it could play him ads instead. And I'm not attacking people that like Plex. I've messed with it a little bit. It looks very polished. It looks nice. I'm sure on bare metal it probably runs pretty well. I started Jellyfin, like I said, when we had poor internet, and it's worked for us. It is not the best at music. I will give you that, Matt. I don't think it ever has been. We use an Android app called Symphony, I'm pretty sure it's called.
Symphonium?
And Symphonium, sorry, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty nice app. I paid for that. It is worth the money in terms of UI and whatnot, in my opinion. I don't listen to a lot of music off of the server, but I know my wife does a lot of her audiobooks through there. So we'll put them on the Jellyfin server, and then she'll just download them and listen to them. In fact, she's done a thing with her friend for a while now where she will purchase the audiobooks. She'll put them on a spare phone. She'll put it in airplane mode and hand it to her friend and go, okay, let's listen to the same book together. And then they'll have their own like little book club as a result of that, which is nice. And they can just go off in a corner and listen to it. They don't need internet. It all works great. I like it for watching all my TV shows and whatnot. My wife and I've made a big push this year to get as much on the Jellyfin as we can. So we just don't have shelves and shelves full of DVDs. So we can pack them away, put them in a corner, that sort of thing. But I really enjoyed it too when I couldn't even get local broadcasts and whatnot here because we live in the middle of Timbuktu. So over the air is like 3 channels at best. So it was nice to be able just to pull it up and go, okay, well, we're going to watch this show today. Um,
I don't have a problem. I think that for me, I've been digitizing so much of my music that I've kind of overloaded what Jellyfin can handle. So one of the apps that I was going to recommend, and this is going to get me demonetized, so oh well, it's called Tidar, Tidarr, and basically what it allows you to do if you have a Tidal subscription is you can download from their servers and save it as locally for, for free forever. Going full pirating on everything, but anyways, I downloaded a ton of stuff through that when I can't find the Bandcamp files that I want, because I've been going through Bandcamp and finding a whole bunch of stuff that I can buy, but it doesn't have everything, so I've been using this other thing, and I went crazy and just have kind of overloaded. It turns out FLACs take up a lot of space, and that's a problem. So I think my next app that I'd like to mention is LinkedIn. So I am a notorious, I'm a recovering addict when it comes to tab hoarding. And I used to have a ton of tabs. I've talked about this a lot. And I no longer do that as much. I still have some tabs. Like right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 tabs open. That's it. Well, 12 including the Jellyfin or the Jitsi chat. Everything else, when I find something I want, I just save it in LinkedIn. LinkedIn is so obnoxiously good. Like I've tried Link Warden, it's fine, but LinkedIn is just simple. It has the link. You can archive things, so if you want to save it, if instead of deleting it, it just kind of goes into an archive, which is great. It has a notes functionality, so if you want to put in, and I just learned about this not too long ago, you can put a note along with the link that you saved so that you can remember why you saved it, which is really important for me because my memory is garbage. So I will save a link, put a note next to it, and then I can go through these things anytime I want. It doesn't matter if that stuff is there for years. So when I was a tab hoarder, I had a whole workspace in Vivaldi that had like 200 tabs that were video ideas for the channel, and some of those tabs have been open for years. Like they'd followed me across multiple distributions and installs. If I had lost them, I would have been devastated. Now I just push everything into LinkedIn. It's backed up with Borg, and I'm never going to lose it. So it's really, really good. I like it because of the simplicity. It's just a list of links. No anything else. Now it has tags and stuff like that, so you can do some organizing and stuff, but overall it's just simple. So yeah, LinkedIn is my next one. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, my third one would be N8N. Is because I am getting into learning AI automation workflows, because there's something not a lot of people know. Since I cannot find a job, I'm working on a business of my own, providing AI automation services. That's coming once I am confident enough I can provide the service. But currently, I am learning through N8N, and it's basically it starts off simple, but it gets complex the deeper you get into it. But right now, I have my own. I created my own chat assistant on Telegram. That's all I have done so far. But I'm slowly getting into the complex things and how I can create automations for other businesses, making things easier. Like I'm currently trying to learn how to create an assistant that you can integrate into your workflow. That you can, like for example, you're driving on your way to work, instead of having to dig into your emails and check everything before you go. You can, while you're driving, you can just talk to your assistant. It has access to everything. You ask it, what's my meeting like, my schedule like today? It will dig into your emails. It will tell you on your, and it can summarize everything. It can read charts, give you the, and you can ask it how you can improve a certain project you're working on and stuff like that. It's something I'm working on that is really important, that will eventually make me a viable income to pay the rent and everything without having to rely on donations like I do currently for Zero Linux. And I might register the business as a real business and start doing things like that. But N8N is really important. It's the way of the future. So I'm joining them. So if you can't beat them, join them.
Pardon the interruption, but you're not in America, are you, Dark Zero?
No, I'm from Lebanon.
Okay, well, so I think there's an exception. Like if you're only accepting donations, I think you can technically be an NPO or a nonprofit organization, because you're only you can't sell anything, obviously. You're nonprofit, but as long as you only accept donations, you're nonprofit.
Yeah, I know that. This I'm working on is a real business where I'm gonna have a billing system and a whole thing. But right now, Zero Linux is just getting donations through Ko-Fi, and recently I started accepting crypto.
Drew, go ahead.
One comment, one question for anybody and everybody. So I am using Matt's using LinkedIn. I'm using Link Warden as opposed to LinkedIn, and I've been liking it. I think that being able to set up multiple accounts and sharing links across multiple accounts is a pretty good use case for using Link Warden. The other thing that I was going to ask the question is, and let me explain what I'm doing currently. I used to host Image, and I don't anymore, and I don't actually understand the reason why I decided to kind of move away from it. But like Matt, I'm also using Proton Mail, and as a paid Proton user, you have Proton Drive, and in which case, if you do, click photos with your phone, it will automatically back up your photos to your Proton Drive. It encrypts them and then sends them to the cloud. I'm just looking for an alternative, basically. Is there something that is cloud-based that anybody is recommending for photos? Because I'm definitely not going to use Google Photos. Okay, so that's not even an option. And I'm not sure I want something self-hosted either. I'm just kind of like looking for some guidance maybe or something. But this now, what I'm saying is also the Proton Drive solution is not bad, but it doesn't have kind of like bells and whistles at all. It just is simply backing up your photos. That's all it's doing. What do you think, Matt?
Is there a reason why Image wouldn't do what you like? Do you think that there's like is there like something, an image that you could pay someone else to host? Like it seems like they're.
Yeah, but I think that's probably true. And I probably, like I said, I could go back to self-hosting, and maybe it was as simple as I just don't want to. Maybe it was it's like a mission critical thing where I don't want my photos to be like in the hands of me. I would prefer it to be elsewhere, and so that's why I kind of just went away from it. It's just like, yeah, you know what, this is too much. Even though, because I'm not really doing anything like I said, link warden. If I lose my bookmarks, if I lose my fresh RSS feed, don't really care that much. I kind of try to stick away, just do away with anything that I believe is more critical to my own happiness. I don't want to like screw something up so horribly that I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? Because as tinkerers, we run that risk, right?
Where's the backup? Where's the backup?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll let somebody else. I'll let Fraggle go here in a second. But if you can't find anything else, that Picapods that I was telling you about a little while ago, they have image support. So it's technically self-hosting, but it's on someone else's computer.
Yeah.
And they set it all up for
I
you.
bet you're limited to the disk space too, though, Matt. That might be another issue completely,
And they do offer up to a terabyte. So I don't know how many.
Oh, okay.
So and I think that would be like, don't quote me, I think it's like $12 a month or something like that for up to a terabyte. I mean, that'd be like if you can't find anything else type of thing, that might be an option for you.
Yeah.
Fraggle, go ahead.
It works for more than just photos, but Space Drive might be worth looking into. It's pretty awesome. You can connect like different cloud services to Space Drive as well. You could use it probably just solely for photos if you want, or pictures, but you can do so much more with it. Space Drive is pretty awesome.
Somebody in the chat recommended Zoho, so that might be an option for you as well, Drew. But it's very similar to just Proton Drive, I think, from what I remember. So I don't know that would add any extra like image based stuff for you. Go ahead.
I was gonna touch on the bookmark topic, but I think what I have to say kind of touches on both. Nextcloud, there's an extension in Firefox, or I'm not sure, it has to be Firefox, I'm using LibreWolf, called Flockus, and it can connect to your Nextcloud and back all your bookmarks up, and it does like your bookmarks toolbar, sorts them all into folders and everything for you. And as far as the images, my Nextcloud backs up my phone whenever I take it. However, I do not think it does any videos, but it will do images.
Let me respond real quick, man.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I've had more problems with Nextcloud recently than I probably should, so which is why both the Linux cast and my own personal stuff has kind of like been steering away from Nextcloud. The thing that also, by the way, Flockus also works with Link Warden, and it also works with Git. So there are some real benefits to using Flockus, by the way, if you are in the need to synchronize your bookmarks with whatever browser, basically. I happen to use it on Firefox as well as Helium, Chrome, and work flawlessly, by the way. So, and like I said, Link Warden with Flockus is a fantastic combination. So yeah, the Nextcloud thing, I wish I could say it's improving, but I just can't. I think it might have been better a few versions ago. I don't have any data to back that up. It's just a personal feeling.
So you're recommending a move away from Nextcloud on a personal basis?
So I guess I'm replacing Nextcloud with Proton. With the Proton stuff.
Okay, yeah. Proton. All right.
So the Nextcloud thing is weird because it feels like it's like the KDE developers decided that they're going to make a cloud service. They add a whole bunch of these features on it. It just feels like it's tipping over. and it's the most disappointing self-hosting service ever, because it's like, this thing should be like the best thing ever. Like because if you wanted to, in theory, like if it did everything it was supposed to do as well as you wanted it to, it could replace everything Google does. Like everything. I mean, email, photos, documents, you name it. Plus, it has this entire plugin ecosystem, which would, just make it even better, because you can extend it and do a whole bunch of awesome things, add AI to it, all this stuff. It just is bad. It's just like, my personal problems with it was like, what? Really, all I need Nextcloud for is to take my files from here and put them over there. And I need you to do that consistently and it shouldn't matter if it's a gigabyte file, a 10 gigabyte file, or 3 bytes. It should be able to take this from here and put them over there, because that's its primary function, no matter what little app in Nextcloud that you're using, is putting something from here over there. And it was not consistent in doing that. It was like, especially if you have the Nextcloud desktop app, you get those little notifications or whatever, and like it constantly, like, this file has failed to sync, and it would tell you because it has a period in it. Like, what is this? The 1990s all over again? I mean, I mean, that almost certainly has to be a PHP thing. I mean, like I don't know why, it just seems to me to be a PHP thing. But it's just Nextcloud is very disappointing to me. It's like I want it to be good so bad, because it could just replace so much. It could replace sync thing for me. It could probably replace LinkedIn. Could probably replace Image. It could replace Proton, at least Proton Drive, because they don't even have a Linux application. But it's just it can't, because it's not good. It's very disappointing. So
I would be curious also if GNOME, you could try and see if it's a good use case. But if I know that you have your own Git server, and if you could try doing like synchronizing your bookmarks through Flockus to your Git server.
I was gonna that would actually be a good idea, like a private Git repository.
Yeah.
You can track your bookmarks that way in a private repo.
Yeah.
I might actually try that instead of Nextcloud.
Okay, so my next app would be Castopod. Now, I'm a little weird in the fact that I have multiple podcasts, and that's not something that normal people have. But the Linux cast has to be stable and consistent. I pay for that through Fireside, and it's great. I love Fireside, but it's $20 a month. It's a 1 podcast limit. I can't afford to do that for another podcast. So for my other podcast, which is the 3Casts, I self-host that with Castopod. It took me forever to figure out how to get it self-hosted. Like Castopod was my first experience trying to get Docker to work, and the Castopod documentation makes the NixOS documentation look like the most well-written documentation on the internet. It's horrible. Eventually I got there, and now I self-host it. It's pretty good if you can get it set up with their crazy Docker compose files and stuff. So if you host a podcast and you want to self-host it, Castopod is probably the only thing that I know to do it, other than like WordPress or something like that. So that's my next one. Steve, go ahead.
My next one is to go along with Pingvin for Zero Linux. We also share ideas using DocMost. I know, Matt, I think you talked about it at some point. DocMost is really good, especially when it comes to collaborative work, when you want to share. I think D-Dubs, I don't know if D-Dubs still here, but D-Dubs and someone else, while we were working on the Hyperland config, the Hyper0 config, which is now archived. But while we were working on it, we collaborated on DocMost, and it's a Markdown. It supports Markdown. and everything, and we can collaborate all together. So I'm still using it, and it's been a marvel. Continuously receives updates, and it has been flawless ever since. It's for collaboration, mostly for collaborative work. And the best part is it supports Markdown, and I love it. And I've been using it for almost a year now, a year and a half, and so far so good. And now I moved it to the VPS again because I no longer have a server. I just put everything on the VPS.
Anybody else have apps that they'd like to share? I still have a couple more, so I will go next. You guys can think about that. So my next one is Speed Test. I think there is an actual name of it. It's like Speed Test Server or something like that. And it simply just runs a speed test every so often. And the reason why I use it is because I don't know if you guys, if you watch the podcast or you watch the LUG or whatever, I was having those problems where every once in a while my internet would just decide it no longer wanted to be fast. the upload speeds would go instantaneously down to like 5 bits a second or something crazy like that. So what I did was I installed the speed test server so that I could kind of keep track and see if that was happening at like a frequent rate or something, like if it had like a pattern. And I just go to this thing and every once in a while and it will show me charts and stuff of my speed over time, and I can check and see if there's big dips or whatever. So I probably don't need it anymore because I haven't had the problem in a while, but it's still something that I run in the background just to kind of have those stats just in case. I do wish it was easier to, well, the problem is it's not hard to install, but there's like multiple versions and you have to, every time I have to reinstall it, I forget which version I use, so I end up using a different version every single time. So there's that. Greg, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late to the party. I use something called Pinch Flat. Has anybody brought that up yet?
What is it?
So what it is it's kind of like a YT deal. I don't want to get us in trouble, but
we've already been demonetized. Don't worry, that was my fault.
Oh, cool. It downloads YouTube videos, and so basically you can give it channel IDs, and it pulls down the videos. It pulls down metadata from the videos, and it stores them in a format that's readable by Jellyfin, MB, Plex. Pick your poison. And so the idea is if you just want to kind of consume YouTube on, well, one, your ordinary media player, but on your terms, the channels you want, you don't want the algorithm pushing stuff at you, or you don't want to watch shorts and all that, you can just watch them on your Jellyfin. And it just sits out there and it downloads based off of the channels you give it. And I don't know, I find it's pretty cool. And you can also sort of archive. So if there's like a playlist that somebody put out, like a how-to list that you think is really awesome, you could download that, so you just sort of have it in your collection. You don't have to worry about it disappearing or changing or whatever. And of course, it's if you self-host it, you've got like some offline YouTube in the event that your internet goes out.
Cool. I know a lot of people who use RSS for kind of the same thing, and you get the RSS feed and whatever. But it won't download it, but it will allow you to kind of follow the feed without having to deal with the whole YouTube thing.
This is pretty cool, and it's hostable in a Docker container. So like most stuff.
Does it have like an auto delete feature so that so that you don't end up with like 30 terabytes worth of stuff?
Yeah, you can limit how much you want to pull down, and it'll curate, or it'll like auto cull, so that you don't have too much stuff going on. Yeah, so Pinch Flat. I don't know. Oh, I guess like a tube, right? Maybe. I'm not sure what the name came from, but it's called Pinch Flat. You could do a whole episode on FOSS names, I think.
Yeah. That's for sure. They're very good at naming things. Good. Steve, go ahead.
I just want to rapid fire the last couple that I use. I use Private Bin for sharing encrypted notes. with a random person. So I think it supports Markdown. I'm not sure. It supports Markdown. It supports code snippets, and it's like paste bin kind of thing. It's called private bin. And the other one is a very important one I forgot to mention. It's Glance for your it's your homepage, basically. Docker is a self-hosted container homepage where you aggregate all your containers on a web page, and you can design however you want with various feeds on either side. You can design the page however you want. It's amazing. I love it. The only thing and the only downside to this, it does not have a authentication portal, so you have to use something like Pangolin or stuff like that if you want to expose it. Like I do, I expose all my Docker containers because I don't want to bother having to go wait till I'm back home or use the thing you mentioned earlier. I don't want to tail scale. I don't want to bother with all that. I just expose everything. As long as it has a login portal, I expose it. Glance, I can't because it doesn't have one. So I only access it when I'm on local network, but it's an amazing home page thing. And the last one I want to mention is, since we are already demonetized, I use YTTube. It's another GUI for YTDLP. So and I can't. The reason I cannot use what you just mentioned, Greg, or whoever mentioned it, is because I am on capped internet. I cannot have something keep downloading stuff in the background because I only have 220 gigs a month. So I wish I could do that. I want that, but instead of doing that, I just sideloaded ad-free YouTube on my iPad.
So my last ones that I'd like to mention before I move on to some questions that I have for you guys are 3 that I actually wrote myself. So I have 2 that are kind of similar. So I have one called Poster, which basically just posts things from my blog. So it basically listens to my RSS feed for my personal blog and then posts it to Mastodon. That's literally all it does. And that way, because I was always forgetting to like promote my blog posts on there, and this will do that for me. I'm thinking about adding the ability to do the same thing for my videos. That'd be kind of cool. I'm not sure if I want to do that. I don't know. I've been thinking about it. And what I may end up doing, actually, it may end up being a separate app, but I tried a Discord bot that did kind of the same thing but posted it to Discord, and that was atrocious. So I may end up coding my own for that as well. And another one that I made myself is called Cross Poster, which basically just listens to my Mastodon feed and then posts it to Blue Sky. Because there's not a lot of very good cross-posting things out there for those 2 social networks, and I don't really want to have to post to both. So I just use Mastodon, and this posts to Blue Sky, so people who want to follow me on Blue Sky can do so and get the same content. And the last one is one that I actually talked about a little bit before on the podcast that I'm the most proud of. It's called Homepage. Steve mentioned Glance. I like Glance. It was fine, but I wanted my own, so I coded my own. It's called Homepage, which is the most sophisticated and beautiful name for a homepage ever. It's just called Homepage. It's written in React and some TypeScript and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's fantastic, and it has all theming and a whole bunch of widgets, and it's great. It's also, if you looked at the code, horrendously coded. Like it's all over the place in terms of that. So those are the ones I'd like to mention. And one that I didn't code to myself, I use Booklore. So if you guys host, I'm trying my damnedest to get rid of like anything Amazon in my life other than like buying like physical things, I suppose, but like any of their services and stuff, because I just don't trust them. So I'm getting rid of Kindle completely, and I've moved to Booklore. Booklore is basically like Calibre, but it's much better, like phenomenally better. It's hosted on the web with a Docker container, and it allows you to do all the stuff Calibri does, but in a UI that doesn't look like it was developed by someone who really enjoys Windows 98. So that's my last one. So, Patrick, go ahead. Good.
Matt, this is just a question for you. How do you get your books off of Kindle so that you can do this?
Okay,
Because
so
I have not been able to figure out a way to get my books that I purchased off of Kindle.
yeah, you can't anymore. You've lost your chance. There used to be a place you could go in the Amazon settings or whatever and download your apps, and I did that before they shut that service down. It was about probably 6 months ago or so. They completely removed the option to download any of your stuff. So, unfortunately, they're like, I would not be surprised me if there's someone out there who's developed something, that you could use to download. So if you did a little bit of searching, you probably could find someone who's done that, like download the ability to basically pirate your own books or whatever. So maybe something out there like that. But if officially there's no way to do it now, they removed that option. The way I get my books now is I buy them directly from the authors as much as possible. And when I can't find one from the authors, there are a few websites out there that offer DRM-free ebooks. I get from there. And the ones that I can't find anywhere other than Kindle, I just find alternative seafaring ways of getting them. If the authors only sell on Amazon, that's the only place you can get their books, then I have no qualms about not giving them my money. So that's the way that I do it. Always try to go for the DRM-free sites first, or directly from the author's websites, and then some other way. But yeah, the Amazon stuff is completely shut down now. War Thunder, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know how you do the books. I know for the audiobooks, because my wife and her friend do a lot of Audible stuff. There is Open Audible that will allow you to download cover art, the book itself, transcode it to a friendly format, and then from there you can move that to your server or phone or something like that. That's how I do it for her. So if she wants to just have a phone offline, or you're in the car going somewhere, you can download it, listen to it. I know you can download it through the Audible app, but she's also been signed out before. So instead of dealing with that, she's Open Audible. They have a SH script, they've got an app image, a deb file, a few other different ways to get it, and it's available, I think, for Windows and Mac.
I was just doing a quick search to see if there's, because FOSS developers are usually pretty good at developing things. If there's a way to get around, downloading things that you're not supposed to. But if you do a search for download your Kindle books, there's like not a, like I expected there to be like a Git repo somewhere where someone just wrote a Python script that pulled them down, but I don't see anything, which is surprising. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, for Audible, again, this isn't the ebooks, but for Audible, there's an app called Libation. It's in the drink, like libation, and that will you give it your Audible login credentials, and it goes and it grabs all the books, and it'll strip out the DRM and put them in a format that then you can host with something like Audio Bookshelf, which is, I guess, another one of the apps I self-host, and that works pretty good. So. Yeah, so I think you're stuck with the Kindle thing. The only videos I could find are on YouTube on that were like a gazillion hurry up before it's too late videos.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm finding too. Is a whole bunch of people saying, "Well, you download it," and that was, when was that? That was February when they shut that down. So it's been a while. It's thoroughly unsurprising that they shut it down, but it's actually kind of surprising that it took them so long to do it. Like, if I figured that, granted, it was never that great to begin with, because there was always some books that you couldn't download ever, even with the functionality still present. But you could at least do it now. But yeah, it seems to be completely gone, and I don't see anything here in my brief Google search that would allow you to get around it, unfortunately. But I too have a whole bunch of Kindle books that are just kind of there. What I've done is just found other places to get them. Some of them I've repurchased. Some of them might, haven't, but it's just you kind of gotta work around it, unfortunately. All right, so questions that I have for you guys. Those of you who self-host, what is your biggest self-host fail? The one service that you wanted to self-host, but you could never figure out how to do it. Anybody got any stories they'd like to share? Steve, go ahead.
Forgio, the Git thing, Forgio.
Mm-hmm.
Never could get it up. I must have spent a week trying off and on. I tried on the VPS. I tried on my local server. I tried many different ways. I asked around. Everybody I asked was like, "It worked for me. It should work for you." I'm like, no, it didn't work for me. And I was following verbatim exactly what was being said on the guide, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get the service up. And the weird part of it is, when I exposed it to the internet, which I didn't want to, it worked for a bit. As soon as I logged in, it would give me a 500 server error. But at least I was able to see the UI. But as soon as I access it over the local network, it would refuse to load. It would, I don't know what you call it, a loop, redirect loop. For whatever reason, it would say too many redirect loops thing. I ended up giving up. I was like, yeah, I'll stick to GitHub. And I'm one of the old weirdos that I know what's going on with GitHub. I know GitHub is becoming sentient and whatever because of what Microsoft is doing to it. But it's what I know. I don't want to have to learn something else and self-host something. And as long as it works for me, for my use, why move? So I just wanted to attempt my luck at self-hosting my own instance so I don't have to rely on GitHub. But as soon as I failed, I was like, stick to GitHub, stick to what you know and what you love, you got used to, and forget about it. That was my only self-hosting fail. Everything else worked after a couple of tries maximum.
Yeah, I've had problems with self-hosting Git stuff in the past as well, so I don't think you're alone in that, Steve. Gnome, go ahead.
I can jump in that same boat there. It was a couple 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not sure if I was following the Arch or Gentoo wiki, but one of the two for sure. Trying to install a Git server, and I wasn't using GitLab or Gitee or Codeberg, none of that. I was like using Git itself, like to try and host a server, and that was a nightmare and a half. I think I eventually got it, but it wasn't right. I could do stuff locally, maybe, or there was a problem. I got it up and running, but there was definitely a hiccup, and I didn't end up using it. The second one was probably my mail server. I did get that one as well, but trying to get certificates and port forwards behind a reverse proxy and manage, it was the SPF records and DKIM records and DNS records, and it was quite a few hurdles to get a mail server online.
Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess Nextcloud, in the sense that I was doing it on a TrueNAS device, and I could just not get it to. I would get it working, and then whenever there was an update, this was the old FreeBSD TrueNAS. Whenever there was an update, it would just dork the database, or something would go bad, and I'd have to like re-import all my files. And it also turned into a bit of a self-hosting win, because eventually I gave up and decided to try the all-in-one Docker container approach, and that has, knock on wood, been running flawlessly. So a similar story with Foryeho, trying to do it on my own, complete and utter disaster, but using the community helper script and firing that up on Proxmox, and bam, it just worked. So sometimes it's fun to like figure it out, and other times it's nice when somebody's figured it out for you and you can just click install, even with the FOSS stuff. Speaking of which, Matt, I'm going to give your home page thing a try, I think.
Okay, yeah, it's on Git. It's up
Yep,
on
I just
GitLab.
gave you your second star on GitLab.
I'm surprised there were any. That first star might have actually just been me. I think it might have been me. Just be aware it's in high development. I'm always developing it, so it might break. Patrick, go ahead.
Yes. So the one I had tried to install that didn't work, and it's probably, I believe it was a machine issue, not a software issue, is Proxmox.
Mm.
I was trying to install it on a old HP Steam, and I don't think it liked the eMMC hard drive.
Did it support virtualization? Because
I did check that, and yes, the Intel virtualization was on.
yeah. So because a lot of the times there is very picky on settings and stuff like that.
But the HP Steam is definitely not. The HP Steam is definitely not made for tinkerers, because hard drives soldered on, and so is the RAM.
Oh, I love Hewlett Packard. They're so good. All right. So for me, my biggest fail is probably to this day I can't get it to work. There's a service out there that's similar to LinkedIn and Linkwarden called Wallabag, and I can't get it to work. I've tried multiple times to get the Docker container to work. I've tried to host it in other ways. I cannot get it to run. I don't know what I'm doing wrong or if it has something to do with the way their documentation is written, but I can't get it to work. It looks really cool because it's much more similar to Pocket than anything else was before, and that's the reason why I wanted to try it, because I loved Pocket, and but I can't get it to work. So that's the reason why I found something different in LinkedIn. But Wallabag's my biggest fail. I still can't get it to run these days. Probably 6 months ago, if you'd asked me, it would have been Castapod, but I finally did get that to work. So, there's my biggest fail. Anybody else have fails before we move on to the next question? Once, twice. Oh, War Thunder, go ahead.
Yeah, so funny enough, I actually failed to do Navidrome twice. I'm not exactly sure what I did wrong, to be honest, because it seems like it should be pretty straightforward, but I failed that multiple times. I think my issue was I wasn't paying, and I haven't tried it on this TrueNAS setup. I think when I originally set it up via Docker, I wasn't paying close enough attention because I still don't understand entirely the internal external ports with Docker and how that's different. And I think I might have chosen a port that was already used. That's something I wasn't very good at when I first started using Docker. So I failed pretty hard at that. I was trying to think of another one. I think it was Portainer was the one that I absolutely screwed up, and it bricked Docker on my entire server.
Mm.
This was my old Debian server. However, Portainer exploded, and again, probably a skill issue, probably my fault. I just couldn't use Docker anymore, and so that's when I watched Drew's video to put Nextcloud on bare metal and to do I think it was Jellyfin on bare metal and a couple other things. Nextcloud on bare metal absolutely sucks. It sucks having to manually configure the database and set all that up and whatnot. So it just that was a whole experience. And then I also found out the hard way.
I'm telling you, snaps. You just snaps.
If I did it again, if I wasn't a TrueNAS guy now, I would totally do it via Ubuntu with snaps. I haven't gotten to play with it a lot, but I have messed a little bit with Ubuntu server, and yeah, it's pretty darn easy to set that up. I also found out the hard way when doing Nextcloud on bare metal. Go ahead and update that Nextcloud there, bud. I bricked the entire Nextcloud and it wiped everything out, and I had to set it all back up from scratch like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
The only time I haven't had a horrible problem with Nextcloud is just this TrueNAS server. But I don't know what I did special, but it works, and now I don't want to touch it, which is my life now.
Yeah, that's another thing about Nextcloud is if you want to make sure that you have your backups, because if that thing fails, it takes a whole lot of because it does so much, especially if you invest yourself in that ecosystem and you use it for everything, you lose it. You lose a lot of stuff. It's not just like one thing, so it's a big deal.
I also just learned that Flockus only works when you actually have the extension or app in Nextcloud for Nextcloud bookmarks. So don't do that and then wonder why it's not syncing for the last half an hour.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned ports. So I'm going to put on a little lesson. So the first number is the number that you change. The second number stays the same. And that's the overarching rule, because the second number is the container number, and that's hard coded in. You'd have to go into the container to change it. The first number is the one that's exposed to your network, and you can change it to whatever you want through a certain range. Just a pro tip: make a list somewhere, write it on a sticky note of all the numbers that you use. That way you can kind of keep track, because otherwise you're going to get that area you probably saw, like, oh, this port has already been used.
Yep.
And
or you accidentally point one container at another container and wonder that they don't fight to the death. Things just stop working.
yeah. So what I've done now actually is just, so when my home lab, when I went to Proxmox 9, my home lab crashed and I ended up having to rebuild everything. What I've done now is I moved away from Portainer, because I always had I used to use Portainer, and then every time I created a new container, I'd have to go in there and basically just scroll through the list of ports that I was using. So what I've done now is I just use like a one Docker compose file, and when I put in a new compose snippet in there, I can just use Vim search to search for the port number and make sure it doesn't already exist. So that's the reason, that's the way I've been doing it now. It's so much better, because I had all these things and none of the ports written down. It was horrible.
And it is nice too that with TrueNAS, I can have my dashboard basically at a glance show me whatever port's being used, or I can go into the apps and just click on it once and see what port's being used, so I can write that stuff down.
Mm-hmm. The last time I used Portainer, it just completely stopped working. I'm not sure exactly the reason why. All right, so what? Here's another question for you guys. What would you like to self-host, but you can't? Like, it's literally impossible to self-host. For me personally, I would like to self-host DNS. And now that's not, you can self-host it, but I can't because I'm too dumb. I just can't get it. I'm not nearly smart enough. Steve, go ahead. You gotta unmute yourself, bud.
Yeah, sorry. Castopod. You mentioned it multiple times, but I can't self-host it because on my VPS there's something that it's running Ubuntu. Debian server, but there's something I cannot figure out that's not allowing me to host it there, and locally I can't because I'm capped on the internet. So I really want to host the Castopod because there's a podcast I'm working on that I really want to start without Castopod, and I don't want to have to rely on Josh or BigPod because they offered to host me. But no, those are Josh and BigPod are podcasters from another planet. So I don't want to deal with other planet creatures. I want to stick to Earth.
Greg, go ahead.
Email. I just you technically, it's possible to host your own email server, but practically in the modern world, with the way the internet works now, if you actually want to be able to send email everywhere reliably, it's damn near impossible. And but back in the day, I did have my own email server, and it was fun, and it wasn't too hard to manage. And if you kept on top of it, you could keep things locked down, and it enabled lots of cool things. But I just feel like that's one of those things whose time has passed.
Yeah, and there's so many services out there now that won't even accept it's like a self-hosted. Like if you're not coming from like a popular IP or whatever, they'll just block it completely. Yeah.
And good luck trying to like get a hold or get through to somebody to be like, no, you shouldn't have me on a block list. They don't care. It's all automated.
And it's weird also. Like I've ran into some places like won't. So just for example, I had to ship something back a few months ago through UPS, and you go into UPS, and in order to do some things, you have to send them an email. So I sent them the email of whatever it was I had to send them. I don't even remember what it was, in order for them to ship this thing back. And I sent it over and over and over again. Now I use Proton Mail, but I use my own domain name. And for whatever reason, they wouldn't accept anything that didn't come from like a national brand email address like Gmail or Hotmail or whatever. Everything else they sent directly to spam. So they wouldn't accept my MatthewWeber.xyz domain name and went to spam. So I stood there for like half an hour, like, why aren't you getting this email? And then eventually I just screw it. I logged into Gmail for like the first time in ages and sent it that way, and it was like instantaneously showed up. It was just like, so there's some things, or even just a custom domain name will get you blocked, which is just all sorts of BS. Because I mean, every company in the world has their own domain name. It doesn't seem like they would block it, but they did. It's very weird. War Thunder, go ahead.
So I don't think I'm ever going to do password management and bookmarks myself. I don't trust myself to give myself the gun to shoot myself in the foot with. And bookmarks, like, look, I could find that stuff again. That's not really the end of the world. I would be upset, but I would survive. It's more so passwords that I would be very upset with, because, like, especially with a lot of two-factor, there are just some accounts these days that they would just say goodbye. They would just lock you right out. Like, as an example, my LinkedIn just has now decided that I am now locked out forever. I didn't do a great job managing my password. On top of, they arbitrarily decided that I'm apparently not 18 anymore, even though I've had that account for 10 years and made it while I was in college. So I'd have to be over the age. They're like, oh, just upload a government ID and it'll all be good. And I'm like, nah, bro, I saw Discord. I don't need that in my life. But that's an example. I've lost other accounts too, just from stupid things that I've done or mismanaging a password or whatnot. My original Proton account actually is a good example. I have an original Proton account that I created, and Bitwarden just didn't save the password at the time, and I just can't get back into the account. That was like 2 years ago when I first tried it. So I was like, well, I'll just make a new account then. And I feel like that's what would happen to me if I did that. Is I would screw something up, my server would go down, or I'd be out somewhere. I would just lose my passwords, and I can't trust myself with that.
My thing is, at least for the password thing, is like I would be out and about and I'd have to sign into something, and then back home my internet would be down or the power would be out and I wouldn't be able to actually get to it. So I self-hosted Vault Warden for a little while. It's not that hard, and especially if you go through the process of securing Docker so that it doesn't push everything out to the internet. It works, it feels somewhat secure. I'm still not quite sure that I was doing everything right, and I probably doxed myself over and over again and just don't know it. But overall, it was fine. But there was always the worry in the back of my head that I was going to need this thing and it was not going to be there. So I have my passwords in multiple places. Like I still pay Bitwarden. They have a backup of most of my stuff. I'm on Proton now. I have a downloaded XML file or whatever it is, probably JSON actually, of their of all the stuff, and I put that in a vault. I have it on a USB stick in a firebox just in case, because like you're right, because if my password manager went away for whatever reason, I was only using the one, I didn't have a backup, I'd be screwed out of everything. And it's not just the 2FA. It'd be like it's kind of like phone numbers. Like you remember back in the day, you wanted to call someone, you knew the phone number, or you'd go to the phone book. Now I don't even know what my own phone number is, let alone what anybody else's phone number is. So it's this the exact same thing. I have no clue what my password is for like Gmail. Like I couldn't tell you. I mean, it's like 24 digits long. There's no way I'm remembering it.
And imagine the world where this phone right here, which for a lot of people has all their two-factor, has a lot of their passwords and stuff saved into it. What if you have a bad day and drop it in the toilet? What are you going to do about it? Because I can tell you, like at work, you know, that would be it. I'd have to set up a new phone. I'd have to call a coworker and go, hey, can you, get an IT ticket in? But like, how do I do that for my personal stuff? And I've been trying to move to a position where I might self-host something at home. So I could see myself doing like a link warden or something at home and then having something else too. But I could never see myself going just solely self-host. I just don't trust myself enough. And what if I live in Indiana? What happens when a tornado comes through and wipes my house out? I would just lose everything, potentially.
Yeah, well, it could be worse. You could live in Oklahoma. It'd be like Nate. I mean, he literally has a tornado as his next door neighbor. And he looks
Yeah.
out the window. Cow. Another. Sorry. Every time. He's not even here. I'm still messing with it. All right. So just kind of on that same tune and path, and I'll open this up to everybody. What do you guys use to back up your self-hosted stuff? Because for me personally, that was the biggest thing. Like, 'cause I didn't back up for a while. That's the reason why when my server went down, I didn't have any of that stuff backed up. It was all gone. Now I managed to get some of it back through some hard drive magic, but a lot of it was just gone. So since then, I've been using a Borg backup Docker container that I can run every once in a while, and it just backs up things. So I have it saved. But I've since learned, because I've been doing Borg on my main PC as well. If you don't do proper maintenance of your Borg backup, that stuff corrupts very easily, and I lost all of my backups not too long ago on my main PC, which isn't a big deal, but it made me a little bit more weary about Borg than I was before. I was like, I was so proud of myself. I'm practicing the 1, 2, 3 thing going on, and all of a sudden, I went to do something with Borg, and all of a sudden, I had all these corruption errors, and I was like, what? Like I've been doing so good. Why are you doing this to me? And it's like, so I'm at the point now where I'm like, maybe I don't trust Borg as much as I used to. I'm gonna need to find something else, or maybe at least maybe not an alternative, but something in addition to. So, what do you guys use for Borg? Gnome, go ahead.
Well, speaking of it, I actually need to add a few drives, but I just use a RAID array, a software RAID, like ButterFS or something like that, and like RAID 10 specifically.
You don't do anything off-site in terms of backup?
No, I'd like to handle my own data.
What happens in case of a fire? That's what I'd be worried about. Or War Thunder's tornado comes through.
We're already demonetized. That's what they call up shit creek.
Yeah. The way I would have phrased it was like, if there's a fire or a tornado, chances are I'm dead. So what does it matter? So that got dark really, really fast. Greg, go ahead. On that note, Greg, go ahead. Sorry, man.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I'm still alive, and so the server that I have all my VMs, all my Docker and everything, and all my self-hosted stuff, they're all on VMs, and they're all it's all on ZFS, and each VM is in its own ZFS data set, and those are all I replicate, or not replicate, but replicate. I take snapshots, and then I replicate the snapshots to it's actually a little PyNAS that I have, which is kind of cute, but does the job for backup. So I've got the snapshots getting backed up to a secondary spot, and then my next goal is offsite. I'm just waiting for the symmetrical fiber to be installed in my neighborhood, because otherwise it would take like 3 days to do, or more, to do one of my initial backups. But I try to have, my butt has been saved more than once by ZFS snapshot rollback on the server. And because I split up the VMs individually, I'm able to, I don't have to like lose everything if I lose one of them, which is nice. And then, like I said, I put those onto another machine. So in theory, the worst case scenario is that I just have to rebuild and then pull off of the backup machine and replicate the data set back the other way. I haven't actually tried that, and I probably should, but I do have it in place.
I need to find something, like I was talking about before, that I'm not sure I trust Borg anymore. Plus, it's not automated, so I don't know.
Yeah, +1 for Syncoid slash Sanoid, which is a I think it's just I think it's written in Perl, but it's a script that's out there. If you have ZFS in place, it manages snapshots and curates all your data and everything. It curates all the backups and tests them and stuff like that. Which is, it doesn't test the backups, but it lets you know if like snapshots aren't happening, and it does automated replication between machines. So you might want to look into that if ZFS is an option. If you're not running ZFS at all, then you got to look for something else.
Yeah, I've heard of those before, and I don't use ZFS. So my home lab is what you would qualify as janky. So I have my main home lab, which is entirely overkill. It has 128 gigabytes, has a Xeon processor. I don't need all that power. It's a huge ass machine that uses probably way more electricity than I'm very comfortable with. But I use that and then I have a file server, which is a smaller computer attached to a JBOD, and ZFS does not work with external drives like very well at all. So I'm on ext4 for all of my storage. Unfortunately, eventually someday I want to get a NAS, and then I'll get into the ZFS thing. Right now I can't. It's just actually on Black Friday I was very close. There was a TerraMaster NAS that was on sale for like $250 with 6 bays, but I'd have no way of getting the data over there because I'd have to get some new drives, because all the drives I'm using have the data on them, so I'd have to get new drives to transfer over to, and drives are expensive. So and I don't know, I'm just too lazy to do it. So someday I have plans to make my setup less jank and use DFS, because the snapshot things, it sounds great, but I'm not there yet. War Thunder, go ahead.
So the one thing I don't have is a good offsite backup, which is something I'm mulling about, trying to figure out what's a cost-effective way to do that. But what I do have, one is a lot of hard drives, but two, and TrueNAS, I do use ZFS. I did recently increase the amount of snapshots I do and how often I do them, but I have snapshots that happen on the Nextcloud directory almost every day. And I keep multiple of those for at least several months. And then I have separate snapshots for other data that's on there, because there's some stuff that I just don't care about. Like I care about my photos and image. I care about my Nextcloud files. Those are, especially the photos, are potentially memories that I can't replace. So I do extra snapshots with those. But stuff like Jellyfin, I snapshot the config directory, because if I make a config change, I want to be able to roll that back or whatnot. But if I lost all my configs, I don't care. So I'm a little lazy with that. I also have a Synology NAS, which is where my home lab started. It's a really old ARM unit. It's low power. All I use it for these days is ButterFS, and I sync over rsync directories from my server to the Synology, and then I let the Synology make its own snapshot versioned backups. I tend to do backups once a month on that. It's a little lazy, but it exists. And then I also have several of these hard drives running around. One goes in a fire safe, the other stays at my desk, and I try to keep versioned backups there manually, just because I don't have anything else. But like I said, I don't have an off-site backup. So yeah, if my house burned down or a tornado comes through, I'm up a creek and I don't have a paddle, but I have my data in many places. The likelihood I would lose something. I mean, I even have a big passport down there that's my Jellyfin library that I back up to, just in case. I would love to set up like a Pi on, like, I have my old TerraMaster down here that I just haven't done anything with. This is how I ran my original server. That was my original RAID, was software RAID over USB, which I'm sure was super good to do. But it worked for 3 years, so I won't complain. But I would love to set up something somewhere else and use Tailscaler or something to back up to it. Or I've even considered maybe even paying for some storage. Maybe, I don't know, getting into Proton. Maybe I can back up to Proton for some things, but I don't have a good solution to that. But my on-site backups are pretty good in my opinion, because like I said, I have had to roll back some recently. And then I increased the snapshots because the file my wife wanted back fell right between snapshots. So now that's not possible.
So you may, I mean, I know I just said I may not trust Borg as much as I used to, but I'm positive it's user error on my part. A lot of people use Borg. If you check out borgbase.com, they offer really good high storage available backups for pretty cheap. So you can get like 2 terabytes for like $15 a month.
That's not bad.
And it just and they also offer overages. So if like you went over 2 terabytes, you get pretty good per gigabyte storage fees. That's what I've been using for quite a long time. My problem is, for all I know, those backups that I have on there are all corrupt, and I'm screwed. So I'm really good actually usually at backing stuff up. I'm really bad at testing the backups, and I need to get way better at that. So that's one of my New Year's resolutions, is to test all of my backups. I'm gonna delete everything, and I'm gonna take another computer and try to restore to that computer, so, and see if the backups actually
I
work.
think I'll join you on that, because that's something else. Again, until my wife asked for a random file, I honestly hadn't for the last 4 years tested any of my backups. And I go to look for a file, and I'm like, oh, well, the file you wanted was created and was gone before the next snapshot came in. So I had to make another snapshot in the middle to like capture extra and keep it for longer. So yeah, I probably should join you in that.
Yeah, it's a whole process, and you gotta be not lazy about it, which is not my forte. D-Dubs, go ahead.
Just wanted to clarify something you said earlier about ZFS and external drives. That's because you were using USB.
Yeah, I know. I understand it was because of the USB part.
Right. But other people may not, because ZFS works great with eSATA or iSCSI or any other high quality external storage that's out there. USB definitely does not qualify.
No, I know. I should have said that, but yeah, it's the USB. USB is the worst choice for storage, but it was cheap.
It's ubiquitous, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's easy.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I bought the JBOD, I was looking to increase the storage capabilities I had without having to buy a NAS. You know what I mean? And deal with all this. A lot of time, granted, I'm very noobish when it comes to NASs and stuff, so I have a lot of assumptions in my brain which I don't know are true or not, about like, oh, I have to have all the same, in some of them, like, you have to have the same hard drives, or you have to have the same, storage, like the capacity hard drives. I know that's not true anymore, but it used to be.
Yeah, it hasn't been true for a very, very long time.
There
are some proprietary ones that require like quote unquote NAS or storage level drives. So that's just bull crap. But it is what it is. If you're making your own, you can mix and match. The difference and issues you'll have are, if you have a very large drive and a very small drive, you're only going to get the capacity of the smaller drive. If it's a mirror, then you get the smaller drive. Even if it's a RAID 5 or a RAID 6, lowest common denominator. But you could do it.
Yeah.
Technically you could mix eSATA with IDE or all kinds of things. You could do it. Is it a good idea? No. But you also have an issue if, like, you're mixing SSDs with spinning rust. You now have slowed the performance down to that spinning rust drive, because the SSDs will be done very quickly, but your spinning rust will be still processing the parity or whatever else you're doing. So yeah, there's good reasons to have either all SSDs or all spinning rust, or put, if you're using something like ZFS with cache drives, you could have a couple of small SSDs greatly improve the performance of your spinning rust drives. Lots of options.
Yeah. So another reason why I've avoided things like a NAS and RAID in particular is that I'm selectively cheap. Like I'll freely spend $500 on a keyboard, but I hate the idea that I have, you know, 4 hard drives, but I only get to use 2 of them because the other ones are redundant. You know what I mean? It drives me nuts. Like I paid for those. I want the storage. Now I understand you can do like RAIDs. Like was it RAID 0 where you just get to use the entire the
You
entire.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like but I mean then what then I
And
mean
what's the point? Yeah.
right. I mean you want the redundancy. I understand the benefits of redundancy and all this stuff. Like if one of them fails, you can do all this stuff. But the cheap bastard in the back of my head, like I paid for that mother. I want to use all the space. Those things are expensive. It just feels
You know
like
what my counter to that is though? What's the value of your time? And what's the value of the data that you are protecting?
well that's a smart way of looking at it, D-Dubs, but that doesn't appease the cheap guy in my head.
Well, you got to tell the cheap guy it's not cheap because
He-
your time is valuable.
He looks
That's-
at it as
that's the
actual
problem.
money.
You think, well, no, that is actual.
No, I
money.
get it. I get it. I'm just saying that part of me that feels that it's a waste of money doesn't go away, despite the fact that you're 100% right. And there's still going to be that part in my head, like, I have eight bays worth of hard drives, and I'm only being able to use 6 of them because 2 of them are protecting me. It's like house insurance. Like you bitch and moan about paying house insurance all the time. Like everybody does, because you never use it. But then you get an ice storm and it takes down half your roof or whatever. You're happy you have it, but every other time you're bitching about it because you have to pay $2,000 a year.
Yeah. Would you write the check? That's what it hurts. You're like, do I really need this much? Yeah.
Car insurance, exactly. It's insurance, and I understand the purpose of it, but it's still, I hate it. So yeah. Steve, go ahead.
You were talking about backing up and storage and whatnot. Today, I don't think it's a possibility if you want to get drives with the pricing and everything. It's more of a dream to go to heaven than it is a possibility. But the way I do backups is rsync, simple rsync or rclone even. That's it. Simple stuff. I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah. So actually, if you're still dealing with rush drives, they're not too bad. Like they haven't seen the like if you're talking about like memory, yes, that's horrible. I mean, everything is like triple what it used to be now because of the whole thing that's going on there. But the price per gigabyte on, like, if you go to serverpartsdeals.com and you look for if you look for their manufacturer recertified stuff, that stuff stayed pretty steady between $12 and $16 a terabyte. Which is what it is. Like, I wish I had qualms with people saying, well, like, hard drives are cheap. Well, yeah, hard drives are cheap in comparison to other things, but they can still, if you are a data hoarder and you need, 100 terabytes, that's going to add up. Like if you just need one, it's not too bad. But if you need a whole bunch of them, hard drives definitely can add up quite fast, no matter how cheap the price per terabyte actually is. All right, so anybody else have anything they want to share in terms of their self-hosting strategy or anything like that before we wrap this thing up? As you can see from the tail in the background, my dog is interested in leaving. So, Steve, tell us what you got.
Well, if you want to start self-hosting, first thing you have to do is make sure you have enough storage. That's important because when you start your self-hosting journey, it's gonna lead into places you never expected it to. And do not, if you are a security person, do not self-host. Do not expose services you would like to keep private. And third, and most importantly, is be ready to be a maintainer, because you're the guy who's going to be maintaining and making sure your Docker containers are up to date and functional. And do not, above all, do not be impatient. Do not update to the latest version before you make sure there are no bugs. Read the GitHub, the project's GitHub. Make sure there are no issues that might stop your home lab from functioning, your services from functioning. Keep yourself well documented, well informed when it comes to your, especially when you want to, especially if you are relying on those services. If it's just for fun, then it's fine. Do whatever you want. But if it's really you're serious about it, do not do what I did. Basically, just you see an update, hey, update, blindly update, and oh, my system is broken. What do I do now? And always have backups, as it goes with everything. Because I learned the hard way when my NVMe, my home lab NVMe decided to off itself. I lost everything, so I had to start from scratch. Good, but I still had some of the data lingering on various drives, so I was able to rebuild everything. But yeah, NVMe's can die, hard drives as well, so always have backups. And home labs are fun. It's a good way to learn something new. I learned how to self-host, so now I can do it blindly. I can easily understand various implementations of the Docker Compose files. Some of them rely on external services. Some of them rely on different networks and stuff. It gets complicated the deeper you go. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. But most importantly to me, I consider having a home lab and self-hosting is the best way to go. Relying on other services like Google, like Microsoft, and other stuff like that is no longer a viable solution. It's self-hosting has become a very common thing these days. So yeah, don't join them. Just beat them. Don't join them.
Go ahead.
I just had a real quick tidbit. I've been talking a lot about hosting a mail server today. If you're on regular internet, likely do not waste your time even trying, because most ISPs will block port 25. You cannot reach the outside with SMTP. I have business class internet, so unless you're using a VPS or you have business class, probably don't waste your time. I mean, don't quote me on this, but I know at least a few years ago, Xfinity or Comcast would block it.
So I have a couple things. First, I didn't mention it earlier, and I'm surprised nobody else did, but if you are sick of Google search, Cirx is the way to go. It's fantastic. CirxNG is the fork to use now. It's just a really good, very customizable search engine. Pulls from the major search engines, so you can kind of get the same. As you fine tune it, you can kind of get the same search results. So Cirx is fantastic. I highly recommend it. It's also there's a Docker container, Docker Compose file out there somewhere floating around. I don't think it's in the official documentation, but if you can find it, it's like 6 lines long, and it literally just installs it and runs. You don't have to now. It doesn't include a database, so it doesn't like save your searches, but that doesn't bother me at all. I just need it to work. It's very, very good. And Steve mentioned something about updating your stuff. I have an update schedule. I used to use Watchtower, which would do it automatically for me, and I never had any problems with like things breaking or whatever. But I probably just because I was lucky. But now I use someone wrote a script called DocCheck, DOCK check, because I use all Docker containers, and I just run that once every 2 weeks, and it will go through and pull any updates that are available for you. And there's a lot of customization you can do there as well. There's some flags and stuff you can kind of change how it searches for stuff. You can exclude things from being pulled if you want to. It's really pretty good, and that's the way that I update. Because I used to use Portainer and Watchtower. Now I've eliminated both of those from my workflow. So DocCheck is what I use for that. Greg, it says you're next.
Did anybody mention Unbound or some other type of caching DNS server? Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess that would be that's an easy recommendation on something that you can do yourself and get started with is you host your own recursive DNS server. So you do your DNS queries originate from that, and it goes out and talks to all the top level domains. So you're not giving your ISP your entire DNS query history, which is kind of nice. On the other hand, some people just prefer to, set it to 1.1.1, but, or that wasn't 4 ones, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I like, there's Unbound. And then if you use AdGuard, it is its own recursive DNS server, but that's a nice thing to set up. It has a good impact on your network, and it has a good impact on privacy.
Pi-hole and DNS are two things that I'll eventually get into once I feel more confident in actually doing them. I'm sure they're not as hard as my brain makes them out to be, but there's something in there's a mental block there that I'm just like, and I'm not sure if I'm comfortable messing around with my internet. I just they're good ideas, and I definitely want the features of them, but I'm gonna break something, and then I'll never have internet again. And Matt without internet is not a person you want to be around. And we went through that in the 90s. Drew, go ahead.
I missed a bunch, but I didn't know. I'm glad you said something about searching at tail end here, but because I use that as well. The one thing that I find, I am self-hosting. I don't know that I recommend it for everybody, but it is something that I think is interesting. Is Olama with Open Web UI. So yes, I'm downloading like open source LLMs to it, but at the same time, my use case is that I am using an open router AI account and basically paying for whatever I use. Just using API tokens and just paying for whatever I use on that one. I have set it up so that my son, my wife can actually kind of like use this one central login, go to a specific domain name, basically a subdomain of a domain that we own, and then they're able to use the web interface for Open Web UI. Currently, the only thing that I'm allowing them to use within that interface is ChatGPT 5.1. That doesn't mean it's the best one. It just so happens to be the one that they're choosing more than anything else. But it is if you want to not, if you don't want to be actually on like a $20 account, this is a way to kind of like pay as you go. And it allows, if when you do upload something, it's actually uploading like a file locally as opposed to it going to the web. So something to consider.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Have you noticed any uptick in like electricity bills or in terms of like usage or whatever since you started doing that?
So only when I'm using it heavily on a local LLM. So if I'm using the local LLM, it's going to like spin, the CPU stronger, harder. But if I'm actually just passing information using the API key to OpenRouter, or actually not OpenRouter, but I'm using the API key from OpenRouter to go to ChatGPT, then the processing isn't actually on my local side at all. So no, in fact, I was shocked how little power I used last month. I was just like, holy crap, that's actually reasonable. And that is not something I can normally say in Florida. So yeah, no, I haven't seen an uptick.
Yeah, because here in winter in Michigan, our bill just is skyrockets. It was $400 last month, and I'm always constantly worrying about adding anything extra to my tech stack, just because I'm gonna, like if I get $1,000 bill, I'm just like, We're shutting
Yeah.
everything off. We'll light shit on fire, but we're not doing anything else.
Yeah, just so we're clear, I am only using TrueNAS scale, like I was telling War Thunder. I'm just using TrueNAS scale. So the applications that are running via TrueNAS scale on a fairly like modest build is I have Cloudflare, Cloudflare D, and then Fresh RSS, Link Warden, Olama, Open Web UI, and searching, and that is all. But those AI things that I just mentioned, Olama and Open Web UI, actually doesn't really, because if I'm looking right now, the amount of RAM usage for Open Web UI is 635 megabytes. So it's not in the core, and as far as the CPU spinning, yeah, I can't hear it, and it's like right next to me. So no.
Okay, that's good to know. One of the things that I really want, just lastly, one of the things that I really want to self-host eventually is to get more into Home Assistant and get a whole bunch of like little sensors. I'd love to be able to track everything. Like I want to know why. Like, there's a good chance that the reason why my power bill was so high last month was because of the heat, but there's also a chance it was because I was downloading so much music. You know what I mean? And I would love to be able to differentiate that by tracking those types of stats. I'm just not sure I want to invest because it's going to require quite a bit of infrastructure. We live in a really old house, so it's all going to have to be I don't like have Ethernet cables all over the place that I could plug in. It's all going to have to be wireless, and it's going to have to be
I forgot to mention, I mentioned before in this lug, but those 6 things that I have on my TrueNAS scale is separate from the 2 things that actually are on their own dedicated machines, and that's Plex and Home Assistant, both of them on their own dedicated devices.
You bought that little green, had that green in the name or something like that.
Yep.
What,
Home Assistant Green.
How did that end up working for you? Well,
it's so freaking solid. I barely have to touch that thing, if at all. And yeah, I can just say, turn off the lights or, whatever it is, and it does it seamlessly. Yeah. And I've got quite a bit of like smart devices within the home that and not to mention is some of the stuff like our front door camera, as well as, yeah, well, I'll just use that as the example. So our front doorbell camera has a video on it as well, and I'm actually, it has its own mobile Android application, and I can use that, but it actually connects to the Home Assistant. So if I'm just looking at Home Assistant, I can see all the cameras that I have, as well as all the lights that I have. So it's like a one-stop shop for managing all these kind of like smart devices. So yeah, it works well.
That's something I'm gonna have to get into in the new year because there's some things that I want to track. I'd like to have a few cameras around here. That'd be nice. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, I just Home Assistant is awesome, and I think with the way you like data and dashboards and stuff, you would really get into it. And it really is truly aimed at the tinkerer, which is nice. It can have a very polished look to it if you put the time to it, and but I would say still it's not really for the faint of heart, but it is great. And once you get it where you like it, it does just run. It just sits there and does its thing, and it's super reliable. And if you do it right, it can be all entirely locally hosted, which is great. Like I've replaced Wi-Fi and attached devices with Z-Wave and Zigbee devices so that they still work when the internet's off, which is fun. So if there's enough people in our crew or the Discord crew who get into home automation, it might be an interesting lug just to talk about that one time.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. All right. Anybody else have anything else to say before we wrap this up? Going once, twice, and 3 times. Okay. Everybody who watches live, thank you so very much for streaming with us. We really do appreciate it. We hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season. This is the last lug of the year, as I mentioned there at the beginning. Now, a few announcements. First off, we have one more podcast that happens Tuesday evening if you want to watch us live. That's our award show for the year. It should be fun. So if you want to, like I said, you want to watch us live, that it will be released as an edited version as well as usual. So if you can't catch it, that's fine. But that'll be our last podcast of the year, and lug related. And for those of you guys who are regulars here, just a heads up that the schedule will be a little bit different next year. I'm not sure what it's going to look like quite yet. It won't be obnoxiously different. I'm just pretty sure that everything is going to be moved back an hour, at least for the early lug. So probably like take a 12:15 instead of 11:15. But there's nothing set in stone. A lot of the daily schedule is going to depend on what I end up doing for a job. So once I get a job, things are going to have to kind of flow around that. But we're not there yet. So that is it for this one. Thanks everybody for watching live. Everybody who joined the lug, we really do appreciate you joining in. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season, and I think that's it for me. And I will see you guys later. So thanks. Good luck, guys.